Hello everyone, my name is Tanner and welcome back to another TrueTan Wrestling Way Too Early lineup breakdown. Today we're talking a little Wolverine action with the Michigan team in Ann Arbor. They really stunned the world in their historic 100th year run to place second behind a super tough Penn State team. However, Michigan won the Big Ten and at moments was super close to winning it all in Detroit. But what about their upcoming year? How are they going to look in 2023? Unlike my Rutgers roster breakdown, the Wolverines are losing a ton and they will need a lot of guys to step up in their lineup. However, combining speculation and known potential, how will the Wolverines truly look? Well, let's stop introducing the question and start diving into the Michigan wrestling lineup breakdown. But first, if this is your first time, hello, and don't be shy to stay a while. And if you aren't shy, take a look at the description below and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and if you really are feeling lucky, go ahead and buy yourself a TrueTan wrestling shirt. But if none of that really interests you, I totally get it. Just make sure to like and subscribe to not only grow my channel, but the sport of wrestling. Now there's a ton to talk about and speculate with the Michigan team, so if I forget something, please feel free to ask questions in the comment section below, along with your thoughts on the Michigan Wolverines. Now let's talk a little Michigan wrestling, shall we? The Wolverines have been led by Sean Bourmet, who took over the squad in 2018, and I'd say he has been doing a pretty great job with everything considered. He took the Wolverines to a second place finish this last season, got her a national champion, and continues to develop athletes along with keeping them out of the transfer portal and in the Michigan room. There is no athlete to speak better on that than longtime team player and great option for them in Jack Medley at 125. Medley has been a pretty consistent wrestler, honestly, beating some great opponents, always beating guys he's supposed to be, and beating some super elite wrestlers along the way. Unfortunately, he's been behind some super elite studs, but this year should be his year to try and crack into the top 8 field. Last year, he only really lost to a two-time All-American Courtney of Arizona State 5-4, but beat several national qualifier guys during the 2022 season, along with being a 2020 national qualifier himself. Clearly, the Wolverines have lost their national champ Nick Suriano, so that is a big hole to fill. Medley is definitely their best option this upcoming season, but Michigan also has Kurt McHenry, who really hasn't wrestled all that much in college, and the Wolverines will also have some freshmen and redshirt freshmen who will all probably be behind Medley in the long run. 133 is for sure going to be the stud Dylan Ragusin, who has been on the cusp of All-American status for about 2 years now. His freshman year he went 1-2 at the national tournament, but I think 125 was a little bit too much for him to cut, because at 133 he beat some returning All-Americans and made the round of 12, but just missed making the top 8. These first two weights will be huge point scorers in duels and tournaments for the Wolverines, and Ragusin has been making some huge offseason jumps, so I'm really excited to see where he comes in this upcoming season. 141 is definitely going to be really interesting for Michigan. For starters, it would be nice if Drew Mann would come back. He is a national qualifier at 141 and twice at 125. He had a really productive year at 133, but I believe his time in a Michigan singlet is over. I wish him the best in his next adventures. Another option could possibly be his brother Cole Mann. Not sure if he'll drop down to 141. He did wrestle most of the season last year at 149, but if he's small enough, that would be a great option for them. Overall though, if we don't get Drew Mann or Cole Mann, which I'm not sure if that will happen, at the end of the day I think it will be Christopher Kim, which is an alright option. He had a 9-4 record last season, so we'll have to see him at 141 and see what he can do. 149 is a really exciting weight with a super talented redshirt freshman and high school recruit coming in for the Wolverines, along with several options all pushing for this roster spot. The assumed starter for now is probably going to be Chance Lamer, who I think is honestly a stud. He wrestled a ton during his redshirt season last year, and he did have some great wins and iffy losses, but still really good, and I'm excited for him. There's also Cole and Zach Mann, who could be fill-in or starting wrestlers for the Michigan lineup. Cole Mann actually was the 149 starter for a while for the Wolverines actually, and they're both really tough recruits, so it makes sense. Pat Nolan also wrestled some super tough matches last season and could for sure slip in there too, so there's definitely a few options not to count out at 149. Last year they had the starter Store, but he got hurt pretty early in the season, so I hope they can have a healthy option here this year. Now we look at 157 with returning All-American Will Luan, who really improved his style into something great this season. I said early during last season that if Luan can All-American or even make the round of 12, Michigan might be able to win it all. However, like we all know, a lot more things need to go into that besides one person becoming an All-American. However, he really did help the Wolverines take second place. Luan made the semifinals finals and wrestled great all season, getting some amazing wins and putting it together to All-American and make the finals of the Big Ten tournament. Similar to 133, I think the Wolverines might be upgrading their points here for next season if Will Luan and Dylan Ragusin both continue to develop, of course, and they are in a great room to do it, so I have no doubts about that. 165, their only guy is Cam Amin, and he was for sure going to be the guy regardless who's in this weight class with him, because he is a two-time All-American, and wow, did he look great the last half of his season compared to how he started the season. He did place at CKLV, but after a long hiatus due to an injury, his first match back against Brady Berge at Penn State, he would lose. He also lost a match to Nebraska freshman Bubba Wilson, so it really wasn't looking like he was going to return to the All-American stand at one point. However, entering into the Big Ten tournament, he totally changed the narrative. He beat one seed freshman Karchla from Ohio State, who would also All-American that year, but that win sent him into the Big Ten finals where he would lose to Marinelli of Iowa, but he would get revenge on that match, beating Marinelli in the quarterfinals of the NCAA tournament, sending himself to the semifinals and giving Michigan some major points to help them take second place. He would drop his national semifinal match to national champ Keegan O'Toole of Missouri, but he would keep wrestling and beat super tough freshman Hamidi of Wisconsin, and then drop a really close match to Evan Wick of Cal Poly in the third place match. Cam Amin didn't look his best at the US Open from about a month ago, but placing fourth in a weight like this is really impressive, and he is clearly still developing. And I mean, being a part of the Amin family, I would never count him out. He would continue to be solid for the Wolverines. With Wick leaving, that really helps, aligning with Marinelli also leaving, but this field is super young, so it will always be a battle for the top 3 spot. At 174, we will see a somewhat familiar face in the lineup. It is exactly what I originally wrote when I wrote this script a few weeks ago, before the Michigan Wolverines got huge Duke Blue Devil transfer in Matt Finesilver. The Wolverines are losing longtime All-American Logan Massa, who went out well, once again receiving All-American honor and making the semifinals of this year's Nationals. Losing someone like Logan Massa obviously leaves a huge hole for a team. However, this is a great time for me to note why Michigan was still waiting for their super competitive guys to come back in the lineup, aka the second half of the year in the 2022 season. They were undefeated in duels and honestly didn't look that bad. They will still have everyone who started in that 2022 season, not the guys who came back in the second half, obviously, but they will also be adding Finesilver along with some great backup options, so I think they will be a pretty tough dual team still. Now, to get away from just talking about Michigan as a whole, let's finally look into 174. I think the guy will definitely be Matt Finesilver to start. Being in a new environment like Michigan compared to Duke, I think will really elevate him in his late career. He probably made this move because their grad school is second to none, along with their RTC potential after his NCAA career is over. Matt Finesilver has never reached the All-American stand, but he has made the round of 16 before, and he could jump major levels to help the Wolverines rebound some points. The other options to maybe test Finesilver is probably going to be Joe Walker, who I think is super promising for the future. He had a 14-4 record last season, and then there's also other guys like Max Mailer and Jaden Bullock. Bullock did bump up to 184 late last season to win the Edinburgh Open, so maybe he can be a threat at 184 for the Wolverines, which is a nice transition into the next weight class. 184 is a super hard weight class to replace, considering they had a 5-time All-American in Miles Amin, finally leaving the Michigan lineup to go compete internationally full-time. Once again, super hard to replace a multiple All-American like that and a national finalist. However, they have a guy with a lot of experience for sure in Embry, who's looking like the guy at 184. Jelani Embry has been the starter and a national qualifier before, along with being the guy in the first half of this season. He has some tough wins in his career, and hopefully he can come out with a bang for his last year of college. Besides possibly Bullock at 184, the Wolverines have 2 incoming freshmen who will probably redshirt, like Rylan Rogers, who was a top 20 recruit in his class from Blair, so after this season he could make an impact in the lineup maybe. 197, we will also see a somewhat new face with the Princeton transfer Bruckey graduating for the Wolverines. Now we either see Strigo or JT Carroll, who both wrestled a few matches and tournaments last year, but not much, and they have alright resumes with some promise. Both of these options have potential for sure, but like the theme of this video, it's just hard to replace an All-American like Bruckey. However, the transfer portal is still wide open, and Michigan is probably a nice team to get some guys, especially with their, in quotes, roster cap, aka scholarship money opening up, with so many of their top tier guys leaving. Finally, we end with an actual familiar face in Mason Paris, who had a neck injury last season, resulting in him being a little less productive and only wrestling half of the year. Paris did still reach All-American honors in the top 6, so he's still got the Wolverines points, and I hope hope he can recover and return to the college scene healthy and ready to go, because if Gable Steveson does not return and Paris is healthy, I would say he's a pretty good pick to win it, but that field is pretty deep in the top 4. And just like that, that's a Michigan way too early look for the 2023 season. And yeah, it's a little too early really to judge, but they are losing a lot, like I said throughout the video. It is odd thinking how long some of these guys were in college and just the NCAA wrestling and Michigan wrestling legacy they're leaving. Guys like Micic and Miles Amin and so many others will be missed. However, there is some promise for sure. To be honest, I don't really think a team trophy is up for grabs for them, but they can still compete or sort of compete in the Big Ten. A lot of their upper weights are really going to have to shock some wrestling fans to really push for it. And to be honest, I would be all for that because Michigan's always a fun team to watch. In my opinion, I think this is a building / recruiting year that will make or break them. They still have a lot of talent though, so don't count them out. A lot of the 2023 class is already scooped up, but luckily for Michigan, they have 5 commits in the class of 2023 in the top 40 for the big board. So yeah, I think they will continue to be a strong showing team for years to come. This lineup breakdown was suggested in the comment section below, so thank you all for sending those in. These are some of my favorite videos to make, so I thank you all for doing that. Honestly, all the support you guys give me is great and I am so thankful. I really couldn't do it without all my fans. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe along with leaving a like. Plus leave your thoughts on Michigan and well this video in the comment section below. And be sure to check out my Patreon for extra content and my clothing line all in the description below. Now I hope to see you all in the next one and take care everybody.